Hey, TGIF, everybody. I've had a really weird week. I'm just going to put it out there. I mean, it took me probably an hour to just kind of like stare at the button of the go live and go, are you ready to talk about some of this stuff? First of all, let's talk good stuff. So, it's beautiful out here. I'm in Pittsburgh. You guys are hanging out with me on the third floor, my little living room here. It's my mural back there that I did when I was in college. When I was a kid, I felt like this wall was kind of depressing in this room, so I wanted to make a mural to make it feel like it was outside. Little things like that. Things that make you feel happy, you know? And I've been thinking a lot. I mean, privately for a long time, I've talked with friends and I've talked with different people about, purpose. And, back in, gosh, even in like 2001, I just felt like there's jobs that you do for money, but you might feel like your soul is getting sucked out for some weird reason. And I don't know if I was more sensitive to it than others. It just seemed like most people were like, why are you thinking too much about it, Kim? You go to college, you get a job, you make a bunch of money, you have, get married, get a bunch of kids, and, why are you complaining? You'll have a good life, right? And all that was on the table. But there was always like something like, the majority of our energy goes towards what we do in this life. I mean, if you decide to sign up to be a lawyer or a doctor or anything that you've like inherently really, put all your eggs in the basket, so to speak, that's going to be majority of the way you think, the way that you react, the way that you make decisions. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal to decide what you're going to do in this life, whether it's for money or you feel a deeper sense of purpose. And, that's always been a thing in my head, of, and the conversations that I've had with a lot of people over the years is not necessarily what do you do for a living, but what is your purpose? What do you really like to do? What do you like to do? And it's interesting because when you go to certain places in the country or in the world, or you're around certain people, they're naturally attuned to that idea of like, my job is not just simply making money. My job is living out my purpose in this life, and I'm allowing myself that adventure to wake up and explore like a kid would explore. Not being childish, but being childlike. And there creates that joy and that synchronicity in the world where all of a sudden all the like people that are thinking like you guys naturally find each other. I know I've found all my amazing friends that are doing amazing stuff around the world to really change the energy and the tuning fork of a lot of negativity that goes on in the world, because there's the other side of creating a reality for yourself based on fear, based on poverty mentality of, I'm afraid that if I actually do what I love to do in this world, I'll be wrong, or I will be judged by the people closest to me. They'll think I'm a loser. They'll think I'm not accepted. What if I don't have a house? What if I'm homeless? What if I listen to my heart and my dreams and I'm done? That's fear-based, okay? So what do people do? They go to school. They learn how to regurgitate, not learn, but regurgitate what is being told to them. And not only regurgitate being told facts, supposed facts about reality, but also how to perceive it as well. You're not even allowed the freedom to think of your own perception of how you are taking in these facts. So basically it's brainwashing. And then they tell you, go to college, spend a ton of money. At this point, it wasn't like that so much, a long, long time ago, but now they want everyone indoctrinated in a certain mentality. And everyone's going to pay for it too. So you go to school and you're like, I have to pick a major because I don't know what to do in this world, because no one's allowing me to even explore the world. I'm not allowed to even look at the world with my own two eyes, breathe deeply, look around me, know that my play is my work in childhood. And what I mean by that is your natural interests, you know? I mean, as parents, and most of my friends are young parents now, and they're in that stage where they're watching their young children exploring the world with no other intent but just to listen to what they're naturally interested in, you know, what they're naturally joyful at wanting to learn more about. That's the play, that's the work, that's the joy, that can be your life. And we lose that by the fear. And so we go, okay, Mr. Professor, okay, Mr. College person who's going to give me a piece of paper that says I now matter in the world to other folks. What should I do with my mind and my brains and my energy for the next 45 years of my life? Think about that, though. I mean, really, that's what we're asking these folks to do. And that's kind of an impossible thing to answer. And it's also an impossible thing for these folks to really guarantee. Even if they do tell you that, sure, you know, what you're going to learn in college is going to guarantee you a certain successful way in life, honestly, it's really not, because things, especially nowadays, are changing so much with technology, with information, with you know, opening up borders for everyone, so that basically anyone is going to, you know, become somebody that's working for 10 cents an hour, because so what if you have a degree? Someone else from around the world, I can teach them the same thing in 2 seconds, and they're a lot cheaper than you. So, see ya. You know, so it's a dangerous situation that we've set up with a lot of this fear-based mentality. I've seen it for a long time, okay? And I did go to college, you know, I did. The funny thing is that I went for a college that I created my own major, and the dean of business was like, Kim, we love you and you're cool and all, but we don't know what the heck to do with you when you graduate. We can't guarantee you a job because you just created your own major and we don't know how to get you a job with that. So I graduated with like a 3.89 average, alma mater, all these you know, honors, but there was no guarantee about what I was going to do. I'm alive. 20 years later, I've had some pretty amazing adventures. I've met some of the most amazing people you could ever imagine, and I'm grateful to say that they're friends, or at least we have goodwill towards each other. We may not see each other every day, but you know, there's love, there's mutual respect, and there's that knowing that if ever we're in the same spot, man, we're kindred spirits, and that's pretty amazing. I've gone through some really rough stuff too. I've gone through the depths of complete despair. Like, what am I going to do with my life, you know? Even this weekend, you know, I got hit really hard with, like, what am I doing with my life? You know, I mean, over the years, I keep making these choices of listening to my own heart and listening to my own gut and my own consciousness of what's right and what's really wrong. And even if I'm the only person who decides I'm not going to be a part of the bank anymore, and I decided that in 2013, I didn't have a bank for almost a year. I wasn't making much money at all either, but I didn't want a bank. I didn't want to be part of it. I saw what they did. I saw what they were really about, and I thought, you know what, I might be the only person, but at least I'm going to do it. Same thing with the healthcare industry. I haven't been part of that stuff in forever. I'm alive. I'm pretty healthy, and I've learned a lot of different, through my own research and through the help of a lot of really great friends and people that are in the know. And when you get tuned in to wanting to know certain things, those people are just going to come to you. Whether it's like someone that all of a sudden you get this book, or a friend talks to you about something, with health, or you meet someone on the street and they start telling you about things that you wouldn't otherwise probably even listen to if you weren't already searching for that. That's the magic of the world, it really is. That's the magic. So let's go back to education. Oh, hey, what's up, Ronnie? Hey. So we're talking education, we're talking arts, and we're talking about living your own conscious, Ronnie. I was talking about, so graduating college, even though I did go through that system, I had no guarantee of what was going to happen to me. And honestly, that's the reality of everyone now. Unless you're part of some sort of brotherhood that just goes, okay, you know the secret handshake, we're going to get you part of our firm, and as long as you do what we want you to do, we got you covered. It's kind of like the mafia. And that happens a lot. But the thing is that we lose our own minds and our own thoughts and the magic of what our lives could become if we just trust opening up the door to listening to your own conscience and going, this may not make a lot of sense to some people, even my own family, or whatever your situation is, but something's telling me that I need to follow up on this instinct of mine, and I need to give myself a chance. And you never know what's down the path, but it's worth a shot. And you never know all the doors that start opening. And I've had that happen to me so many times, and I still get scared. I still freak out, because it is a scary way of living sometimes, especially when the whole world is telling you that, you need to do it this way. There goes the hair. Do not touch the hair, Kim. I'm actually almost having a good hair day today. Almost. The world's always saying, do it this way. This is the safe way. But for me, the last 20 years, watching in this world, in the adult world, of the safe way, it seems like it's the fast food way of getting into losing your life force. And I don't know if I can really make that clear without sounding like voodoo voodoo weird, but this is the thing that I have noticed. Okay, so there's a lot of industries that literally suck the life force out of people. They're just not good industries. They're not. And people that get involved with them, let's say like Monsanto, let's say that you're an engineer and you really want to change the world, but you realize that, well, if I really want to change the world and not do it their way, I'm going to be broke, and I don't know if I'm going to be I'm going to be isolated, and I don't know if people are really going to be into like organic and all this other stuff. And I really want to have that Mercedes. I really, really, really want that big house. Well, let's start justifying how okay it is to start working for Monsanto. But then you look at your life. You start to age. You start accepting toxic thoughts. You start accepting toxic philosophies. You start eating toxic food. You start feeding certain toxic energies in your system that can gravitate into parasites. That literally your body starts showing it. You're losing your hair mites. By the way, boys, coconut oil, put it on your hair. It kills it. They're hair mites. They're hair mites. That's why you're losing your hair. Hair mites. I know it doesn't sound cute, but that's what it is. It's not just some hereditary BS. You might have gotten hereditary because you share a pillow with your parents, or maybe you're sharing the same environment with them. That's hereditary. But no, you're not supposed to be losing your hair. So coconut oil does help that. Big time. Anywho, moving on. Your belly starts getting bigger. Just the belly part. What's in there? What are you feeding? And more, the choices and things that we decide to do in life become more toxic. And we start gravitating toward toxic entertainment. and toxic sexuality. You know, more power, less love, more pain, less compassion and connection, and even your lovemaking or your connections with the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever, you know, floats your boat. It's not about compassion, it's about power and pain. Why? All because of a choice that you make of deciding to go for a fear-based direction in life rather than listening to the joy. And I feel that this has been going on for so many decades now, that this is why we're at the precipice of where we're at right now on so many levels. And this week was super duper duper weird. Now, here's the thing, guys, and I want to take a minute to just sort of preface this with, I'm still Kim that, you know, laughs a lot and likes to hang out with friends, and, you know, I'm into the food and I like to just be stupid and have a great time and, you know, bring people together when I can. And go out and dance when I can. It's kind of difficult these days in Pittsburgh, but tonight I am going to. Because on Facebook for a while now, I've been posting a lot of what is seemingly very disturbing, dark things. And it's funny, when you post those certain things, people go, what happened to Kim? She used to be really fun. She used to be like just talking all kinds of really neat stuff, but all of a sudden she's gone, whoop, and she's talking all this crazy stuff. Like, I don't want to hear about child trafficking. I don't want to hear about organ trafficking. I don't want to hear any of this stuff. Why does she keep posting this stuff? But hey, let's post the bad stuff about Trump. Let's post gossip. Let's talk how much we hate about this, that, or the other person. Okay, so there's a reason why I'm doing these things. There's a reason why ever since the election that I first freaked out and was like, all right, I'm going private, man. I can't take this anymore. And I'll tell you why. I know a lot of the really bad stuff. I've known a lot of the really bad stuff since 2000. I mean, that's what a lot of the art is about, and my energy generally going towards joy and the art and bringing people together has been a positive way of combating that. But sometimes people don't get what you're really doing when you're just being really positive, and they think you're just some sort of party chick that likes to bring people together and make some weird art, and they call you a unicorn. They're not understanding that there is some serious stuff underlying the things that I'm talking about in the art, though I do try to do it in a humorous way. There are things in this world that are super duper bad that we're combating right now. And you can only try to stay in a happy place for so long before the proverbial nothing gets so big in the room that it's hard to even bring people together anymore because everyone's fighting, but they don't know what it is. And that's what happened during the election. For me, I was traveling with Tim. We were in Houston. And the whole time that we were traveling, we were talking about this kind of stuff of like, you know, how are we going to really combat all of this crazy stuff? You know, there's all different ways. Okay, exit banks. Let's encourage more people to get out of the banks and do the credit unions. That's fantastic. And he really took that on, and whew, it's gone off the chain. It's fantastic. We're also talking about, you know, helping homeless youth. How can we help kids that are totally vulnerable to all the gnarly things that go on in this world, and give them a stable place through even our own connections with musicians or artists or writers? How can we help them not fall into the sex trafficking arena of what can happen when people are trying to go into the arts? This is what happens when kids are young and they're vulnerable. There's a lot of predators in the art community and the music community that promise you that they're a big producer, or they're a big fashion model photographer, or they can get you a show, but there's a huge price to pay. And then it turns you into a prostitute, and you're never really doing your art. Okay? So how do we combat that? And we were doing all these other things to like connect really great musicians that we know with different covenant houses or drop-in zones. So it's great, right? But then nothing was getting way too big, and the majority of people and the masses are not really understanding the real game. Now, I'm not saying I know everything, okay? I don't. But the thing is that I've been attuned to this, and on knowing a lot of these things, researching it all the time, knowing personal people in my personal life that have been around this stuff on both sides or on all sides for 17 years, if not more. I can probably go back to when I was a early teen without me even knowing that I knew these folks were into this stuff. That's true. So yeah, it's been a lot of focus. So, but you also want to be liked, at least me. I hate being hated. I don't like that feeling. I don't think anyone likes that feeling. And you don't like the feeling of rejection. So how do you bring this information to light to try to wake people up so they don't get played? Well, that's why I started doing these videos. And I don't know if I'm still being direct. But the postings of different articles, if you go back on my Facebook page, and now I just opened up a YouTube channel of my different talks, you can see a list going all the way back to November of conversations dealing with human trafficking, sex trafficking. It's connected to a lot of global people that say that they're doing one thing for humanitarian work, but actually underneath the surface, it's not. It's the opposite. And there's been proven over and over and over and over again, if you really take a look at this, the connections. And it's really worth us to take the time, as much as it may be really gnarly, it's worth it to take the time to look and see what's really going on. Because then you understand, however you feel about President Trump, okay, from what you want to perceive him, what he says, and sometimes he says some really crazy things, no doubt, whatever, but he doesn't get under my skin. Okay, big deal. I mean, there are people that are literally abusing and molesting under the guise of it being a humanitarian effort. They're doing like the worst. That's what I care about. I don't care if someone said something stupid that all of a sudden someone's offended about something or other. I don't care. I care about people that are literally being tortured and exploited. That's what I care about. And sometimes I'd get so down because I'd know a lot of this stuff and no one really wanted to listen. And then I'd think, people just see me, oh, it's just Kim. She doesn't know. Who cares? And man, I'd get so down. And I'd be like, all right, fine. I'm putting myself out there to talk about some of these things. No one really gets it. And honestly, I kind of just want to tune out and be in my own little happy universe. Like, on a day-to-day basis, like, there's a lot of things that I love to do that really bring me joy. And I don't want to focus on this stuff either. But the thing is that I'd be a coward. And I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror if I didn't reach out. And that's why there's been this thing of, okay, 1 minute Kim's on Facebook, the next minute she's not, the next minute she is, the next minute she's freaking out. It's difficult. It is difficult. And you sometimes think, are these folks ever going to get exposed? All the lies that are being covered up, all the derivative conversations that are being thrown here and there that mean nothing, that are just trying to hide what's really going on, and then everyone wants to focus on that. It's like entertainment reality for news. Oh, let's talk about what someone said about something other. Who cares? That's not even the point. Do you know that John Podesta was just being testifying yesterday under oath, and he asked for immunity for anything that he had against Hillary Clinton about all those emails? Do you know that? No one's talking about it in the news, guys. That's a big red flag. Why not? They're still talking about Russian collusion with Trump. Guess what? Russian collusion was with the DNC. Do you know that Podesta owned tons of shares through like conglomerates the Kremlin had? Through his energy, his supposed like new energy company? That's collusion. So, anywho, this is what's amazing. This is what gives me so much, let me see if I'll just hit this. I don't know what this means. Okay. Ronnie, I think I joined you. Okay, I guess I can't invite you, but I think you're done. Okay, so this is what's really amazing about what happened this week. a lot of different synchronicities. So for one, I got jury duty, and I got picked. I can't say any names, but I will tell you the story, because weirdly enough, it actually coincides with all this different crazy corruption and trafficking and weird sadomasochistic stuff that keeps going on in the world that corrupts pretty much everybody. And I saw it during this trial. All right, so married couple. Man's very high up in the area, and he's part of the brotherhood, local brotherhood. Went through the army, went through the law, got married, and had 2 daughters. And a lot of really weird things started going on. And for me, my personal take on a lot of it was I could tell there was a lot of abuse. I mean, you can just hear it. And we had to decide whether or not he was guilty of sexual assault on his own wife or not. And it was very difficult. And I'll tell you why it was difficult. Now, I'm not going to go any more into the details of it, because I respect both their privacies, and I also respect the way the law works, and also just generally, you know. But I will say one thing that I walked away from this. I ended up being the foreman for all this, which was also an interesting place to be when you are thinking very differently from the rest of the jury box, and you have to work towards a conclusion. The one thing that I walked away from the whole experience was that people have lost their innate concept of listening for the truth. And it hits you right here. And when you're in tune with the truth, it's so obvious. You don't have to have like literally a videotape of evidence to show this plus this plus this plus this plus this. You're literally watching him do the whole darn thing to prove that he did it. It's right there. You know he's lying. You can hear it. Nothing makes sense. Or you know she's lying. You know, you could just tell. You can go through all the other distractions and all the veils and all this other, because you know the defense loves to throw up all kinds of different distractions that don't even matter. You know, and I see that in the media right now with all kinds of different things. Do you know that they never brought up that Scalise had just talked about sex trafficking and how they were going to go after all these guys? They don't talk about that in the mainstream media at all. Mainstream media is dead, and I'm really grateful for that. I never thought that was ever really going to happen. It's happening right now. And you guys, this is like revolutionary. And it's, amazingly enough, it's coming and being proven by the exact most horrific corruption that our government or certain people in our government and our society are involved with. It's coming directly from that. So it's almost twofold, where I never thought we'd see this day. And I'll go back to my trial real quick, just so I can bridge it, because I don't think I was able to bridge these two conversations together properly. What I watched during the trial was the defense throwing all kinds of veils, and everything that they were saying she was, they actually were doing. Right out of the box, they were saying she's a liar, she's a thief, she doesn't do this, she doesn't do that. But interestingly enough, everything that they were throwing out at her without any proof, they never proved that she was a thief. They never proved that she was a liar. They never did any of that. They just threw that word out there so that we go, oh, she must be like that. But we never asked, at least I did, but a lot of the jurors never really looked for the proof of what they were calling her. But when it showed the proof of what he did to her, they found every reason to doubt it. Interesting. And don't we do that right now with what's going on with the real story and the real game about why politics is so crazy right now. Everyone's talking about stories that don't matter. You know what matters? Is there is a massive global industry that makes tons of money of exploiting people and children and organs and war. You know and it's so layered. It's so layered. But where are the people talking about it? Independent news journalists, and it's fantastic. It's so exciting. And this week has been a huge, huge win for so many independent journalists and citizens that they may not have all the answers. No one has all the answers. And that's not the point. And we're not supposed to just look to one person to go, ooh, they've got the answer. Oops, it's starting to rain. Here, come up with me. I'm going to shut my window because I'm not sure if the rain's going to affect the sound on this little talk. But we need the rain bad because it's really hot out. And my garden is doing great. It just needs a lot of water. And, okay, so here we are. So here's the thing. Let's go back to what I was talking about with jobs. And you get out of college, and you get out of school. There's a lot of fraternities and different organizations that you can join that networking makes it easier for you to have connections, right? And a lot of times they're innocuous, right? But there becomes a certain group think, a group accepted practices that one has to do in order to maintain their good standing within a certain group that maintains that they're there to lift up your journey in life, in your career, right? Now, I've been out of the game for a long time when it comes to that, so I'm pretty much going to let you infer your own experiences when I talk about this stuff, because I'm sure that you have. You probably have had a lot more experience than I have at this point in that thing. But there starts to be a thing where your language and when you see that there's something wrong going on, there's a less freedom to speak up, right? Let's say you're at a company, you're making about $100,000 a year. Let's say you're at Google, okay? You're an engineer, you're really excited to be part of the future of tech. You know, we're in the belly of the beast right now here in Pittsburgh. I mean, like, you know, I talk all this stuff, and I'll tell you what, we got Google here, we've got DARPA, we've got CMU Biotech here, we've got, I mean, pretty much the majority of folks that are living here are in some way, shape, benefiting from that kind of futuristic thing. So, you want a job, you want to be part of the future, you want to have a future. Well, let's say you're about 2 years into it, and they're telling you one thing, oh, you know, we're doing all of these algorithms, all right, because Google is hardcore into algorithms, and you know why they got the algorithms? They got the algorithms through the Boston bombing. The Boston bombing, side note, was a false flag and a distraction, and also a really great way to just have people be in fear all over again and look for the big bad fox in the world that they want you to focus on. And what really went down during the Boston bombings was that deep state, whether it was CIA or whether it was even Black Ops or whatnot, they broke into the MIT building that was working on the algorithms for the internet to keep it free. They were working on algorithms on how to edit or potentially edit the internet. So therefore, if it got into the hands of the wrong people, which now it is in the wrong hands of the wrong people, clearly, if they don't like what you have to say, they can re-edit history, they can re-edit you by just deleting you. And coincide that with the fact that there are not any more hard books, you know, hardcover books anymore about history. It's all on the internet. Well, now history can be changed at a moment's notice, and it's happening right now. We need to recognize that that's what happened. And so here you are, an employee at Google. You have no idea about the source. What's up, Dom? about the source of where the algorithms came from. But Google has the algorithms now to change anything and edit anyone, or to lessen the search engines for certain subject matters that maybe some global elites don't want us to know about. And everyone's sick of hearing global elite, but the point of the matter is there are people that own the world. Deal with it. I know a couple. They're cool. But the point of the matter is there are people that they don't want to lose their power. Sorry, guys. So how do you do that? You edit information. You edit conversation. You edit language. And we're seeing that already. They're teaching all the college kids how to edit their own language. They're fearful of saying certain things or certain words or certain ideas because they'll be ostracized. That's language control. So let's go back to the dude, the hypothetical dude that's working at Google, who wants a job, needs a job, wants to be part of the future, and he needs his money so he can pay for his $2,000 micro luxury apartment that gives him 200 square feet of luxury granite countertop. And he goes, wait a second. Wait. Google's telling me that I'm doing a really good job by editing these supposed bad people that don't have the right idea. But then he starts realizing maybe they do actually, but I'm editing them. And we're saying that we're for freedom, and yet we're editing people badly, like really badly, cutting them off of YouTube, not letting people see them so much. I mean, Tim's already gone through that. I mean, specifically, if you want specific, that people that I know that are getting edited from these algorithms at Google, and you guys know what a good person Tim Schwartz is. You guys know. Look at Red Fawn. Look at all of those folks from Standing Rock. Are they bad people? Come on. No. They're not. They want everyone to have clean water. But they're the ones that are being targeted by Google and YouTube, you see? That's deep state source right there. So you got a guy at Google that starts putting this together because maybe he has a friend that was one of the water protectors. He's like, wait a second. Why am I editing like these folks? I know a person that's like that. They're good people. Uh-oh. Conflict of conscience at the job place. What am I going to do? Groupthink. Shut up and keep your job. Right? Don't you think that happens in the biggest echelons of global politics and media? You got journalists that are making $15 million a year for misinformation. Where are they getting information? Do you see Katie Couric on the front lines in Iraq trying to get the real story about what's going on? Hell no. And she's getting paid $15 million. Why? To lie. She's not on the front lines. Dude, she shows up at 4 o'clock in the morning with makeup on, does an hour worth of whatever they tell her to say, and then leaves. And she's America's sweetheart, and everyone listens to her because she's got a great smile. Is that journalism? No. It's a job. Is she living her purpose? No. She's living somebody else's purpose. And she's being bought very well to do so. Because she can change the minds of millions of people. And everyone will go, oh, well, Katie Couric said it, so it must be true. That's not journalism. That's called brainwashing, you guys. And are we teaching all of our kids to go along with that and call it a career? Or are we encouraging them to use their own minds? And make the world truly a really great place. We need real water. We don't need engineered water. We don't need chemically induced water. We need real pure water for everything else to grow. We don't need GMOs. We need just real food. And I'll tell you some connections. This is going to be a really long video because I'm just going to go there with all kinds of stuff. Okay, so this, I don't know if you can read it. I might have to turn the video thing around. Can you read that? Is it backwards? I think it's backwards. Let me see if I turn this around this way. You can read it. This is important. Like last year, I was so frustrated with watching, listening to music and listening to art and listening to so much stuff that was all about self-destruction. I mean, for God's sake, like half the music that I turn on to my Pandora, it's like, we're gonna die young, we're gonna die young. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? I don't want to die young. I want to look young. I want to be young and live my best life possible. I'm still waiting for the next adventure. I can't wait. You know? And yet, all this music is talking all this, like, really gnarly stuff. And it's like, no. Why? They preparing us for something? Yes, they are. Here we go. So then, today, you know, and I get a lot of folks that kind of judge me on whether or not what I do with my own energy, or you know, with the art that I do, or I put together these events, and I do certain things that don't make a lot of sense to a lot of people if their worldview is to do it simply just for the success of money. I used to not know how to live under $10,000 a month. That was my lifestyle a long time ago. But I also was not living my purpose, and I knew it. And so that all changed. And then you start realizing what really matters. What really matters. And so I still sometimes get down when I let people that don't really understand me, and they try to they don't really sometimes mean to, but they sometimes make me feel like I'm kind of a loser because of what I do, because I can't buy a BMW. But I don't want one. I had one. I don't want one. Or I can't go and buy a really expensive dress. Well, I've got a couple of Givenchy's in my closet. I don't wear them. You know what my favorite clothing is? My big old gray sweater that everyone sees me in every single day. I love that sweater. So, what do you work for? Who owns you, and do you own what you do? So what is a job? Well, for some people, it's simply what you do for money. Hands down, done. They don't care what they do. I mean, there are people in the world that'll saw bodies and feed them to pigs, and they call that a job. You got people that stuff heroin into military men who are coming back in corpses to feed the heroin trade in America, and they just call it a job. And they do it every day. And they know what they're doing. But they go, this is my job. You got people in the world that literally sell their children into prostitution. And it's happening in America, you guys. This is not just in Cambodia. This is not just in Thailand. This is not just happening, you know, overseas. This is happening in America. It actually happened in Pittsburgh. And I'm sure it happens a lot more often than we like to believe. And they call it a job, making money. That's pretty bad. When you go that low in your imagination of what you think you can do for a living, and it's that dark, that's pretty bad. Well, let's go back to media. You got people that will make a ton of money to mislead so many people. They make a ton of money. That's their job. So there's that mentality, right? There's other people that look at what is their job is really their purpose. You know, that's kind of where I stand, and a lot of people that I know that are doing some really amazing things, they're not looking for a paycheck. They are allowing themselves the freedom, the mental freedom, to listen to what their conscience is telling them to do in this life, and dive into it, research it, talk about it, figure out ways to monetize it. I'm not the best right now anymore at monetizing what I do. I used to be good at when I was in sales. But, you know, it's funny, like the purer and purer for me that I just keep really getting in tune with some of these things, I have a really hard time connecting the monetary with the ethereal, things that I'm trying to convey, the more spiritual things I'm trying to convey to people, and just the real talk. It's just hard for me to connect those two. So, that's why I did the whole, art tours. So if you're interested in looking at some of the work that I do that's tangible, paintings, sculptures, whatnot, that actually is a huge, huge help in supporting me, big time. Or I did just recently did a Patreon account to, someone wants to like just subscribe $1 a month to whatever I do, that'd be cool. So what is your purpose, And the third thing I wrote about the concept of a job, a philosophy of a job, is, what does the impulse of your direction take you? And that's where I see a lot of people that I knew 10 years ago that had no idea what they wanted to do. And now they're truly living out exactly their dream, whether it was in music or whether it's in art or whether it's in life coaching, opening up doors for people in motivational speaking, going around the country and becoming citizen journalists, which we desperately need right now, that are able to tell everyone in real time what's truly going on in the world. That's amazing. So they're all doing it. But there was no guarantee in the beginning that it would be a salary. And that's the important thing, because then they're free. You're not free when you focus on the salary first. Because then everything surrounds the paycheck, and it doesn't give you that freedom first of going, do I have the choice of saying yes or no on a daily basis to what my boss or what the industry wants me to do at any given moment? And if you listen carefully to people that are really on the very top, you listen in their interviews, you realize very quickly that they're owned. They're not allowed to really speak their real truth. They're not allowed, even when they see something really bad in their industry or what maybe the people that are paying them, what they're doing, they can't talk about it. That's not freedom. And we shouldn't be modeling our lives after people like that if we want to truly live in freedom. And we shouldn't be telling our children that they should be like them, because they're going to be trapped too. And I'll tell you, there's a few new things I really want to talk about entrapment that I'm doing a lot of research on. As far as AI goes, okay, everyone's pushing AI. The first thing that I've been noticing since the election, I mean, I'm sure it's been going on way before, but it seems like the last 10 years in schools, they've been teaching the whole concept of crowd think, group think. It's just something I've been noticing with a lot of kids that are in their early 20s. Not so much kids closer to 30 or in their 30s, adults in their 30s, but definitely people and young adults in their 20s and the people that are in college now. There's a lot of group think. There's a lot of language control. There's a lot of calling people labels, and celebrating calling labels of people, and calling it that's progress. Well, I gotta tell you that the more you label yourself, the less freedom that you have, because then you're labeled into an agenda. You can be an infinite being that's experiencing all kinds of different things. But that also gives you the freedom of changing them. If you don't like the road that you go down, you can turn around. The dangerous thing that I've been noticing with the education system is that they're teaching them a road that they feel like they could never return from. So how do they do this? It's we're seeing it even with this crowd manipulation that's going on through Antifa. I watched it with Luke Rudowski. Sorry, Luke, I can never say your last name. I'll say it a few more times. But Luke Rudowski, I've never personally met him, but I've been following him and his journey for maybe close to a year, maybe a little less than that. Solid. I like what you do. I really do. And I really appreciate your perspectives on things. And I watch and I enjoy it. And seeing when they're on the ground,
with Jeff Berwick from Dollar Vigilant, who's great. And by the way, I really appreciate your journey, your personal journey in things that you're sharing as well. And it's really awesome. I've never met you in person, but I think you're pretty rad. And I totally hear what you're saying, and I'm down with it as well. So, you know, while these guys are on the ground and they've been covering tons of different, you know, the Berkeley thing, and these kids, there's like no reality when they just keep going la 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 la, whatever that la 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 is specific to the situation. It's like a constant mantra. There's not even any individual thought process going on there. It's like watching a bunch of zombies, and it's so scary. And it's called crowd manipulation. You get people into a feverish emotional state where they feel threatened by some imaginary words. It's spellbinding. It's a spell. Spells. Let's go back to my witchy history. You can manipulate anyone with words and the way you say it, and the way you frame words. Words are spelling. You spell with your words. Okay? So if you've got someone that understands that, they're going to sell you a specific story and frame it in a way that gets you highly victimized, feeling like someone has offended you on a very intimate level, which it might not really be that person. They might just be tapping into an inner thing that happened to you when you were a kid, and then connecting you to that so that they can get a reaction that helps them. That's crowd manipulation. It's used all the time. It's used in propaganda constantly. And we're seeing that with these kids. So they're constantly being re-traumatized by their own personal experiences to be used for things that are actually going to enslave them. That's one thing that I've been noticing big time that's happening with the people in their 20s. And I really hope that the leaders of the folks that are in their 20s, the smart folks, the kids, they start unraveling this onion, and they start realizing that they're being used for a whole new agenda. And I'm going to tell you what that agenda is. Coinciding with everything that's going on with the lessening of morality, and morality's become a bad word. It's a bad word to want to keep your body in a certain energetic level where there's peace and purity. And what I mean by that is not basically opening up your legs to anything and everybody at all times. You can open yourself up to parasites. You can open yourself up to soul ties. You know what a soul tie is? Every time your body is a biological entity and a spiritual entity, you are energy. Everything, you create your body and your mentality and everything by the energy that you align yourself with and the people closest around you and who you share your most intimate energy with. The biggest way of sharing energy, obviously, is through sex. Well, if you're constantly sharing your body in sex with people that might be really attuned to pain, depression, anger, anxiety, fear, masochism, brutality, cruelty, hatred, you're going to align yourselves with that. You're going to share that energy with them. And the more and more people that you keep sharing that energy, the more and more it starts really taking over you. And you also create a soul tie. They're not telling people on the supposed leftist agenda, whatever that means. I think it's very highly satanic, quite frankly. It's very Luciferian in its philosophy, and that's not a judgment call. That's literally what the Luciferian philosophy is to constantly share your energy magically with other people. Sex magic. But they're not telling you that that's what it is. Okay? But it is. When you do that, you open yourself up to not really even knowing what is right or wrong anymore. And I'm not talking about just some sort of puritanical thing. Like, you really don't know whether bestiality is wrong or right anymore. You don't really know anymore whether it's okay to tell someone they can or cannot marry a tree anymore. you don't know whether it's right or wrong when someone says that they want to implant a chip in your body and it's good. You don't know whether that's right or wrong anymore. Okay? There's there's a spirit of confusion, and that happens when you're constantly opening up your body to other people's energies that may have confusion, fear, anxiety, depression, hatred, cruelty, all these different things. So why are they constantly forcing people on the supposed progressive side to keep being free in just simply sexuality? It's never just freedom in being able to simply choose your thought process or choose your own journey in life. It's always simply just a sexual freedom or a sexual identity. And they want the younger and younger and younger and younger people to identify simply sexually, not in any other way, shape, or form. Okay, that's labeling, and that's also just thinking that you're a sexual object innately. That we are just simple sexual beings, and that's it. That's the limit of human existence, which can quickly turn into bestial mentalities. Okay? There's a reason why they're doing that. It's a function, because also you're highly controlled when you are thinking in your bestial sense. Highly, highly controllable. And they know this. This is not a new philosophy. I mean, you can go back into psychological studies going as early as the Victorian era. I don't know if there's much documentation before the Victorian era on a lot of psychology, because it pretty much was like John Dee witchcraft kind of stuff that they would have documented towards the Renaissance, or maybe earlier than that, because they really saw it as witchcraft. Psychology was witchcraft because it was spell binding. You're getting into someone's head, you're hypnotizing them, you're reframing their reality into another perspective of opening up doors in their minds to think that certain things that their heart's telling them is not good is good. You know, you're really messing with someone's head. That, in a sense, in medieval ages was considered witchcraft. So here we are this week, and there's been a huge collection of people that are pedophiles, that they're arresting them everywhere. It's amazing. The Pope's right-hand man, who actually, interestingly enough, was part of the he was head of the Vatican's economics, the economy in Vatican. And he's a pedophile from Australia. Rampant pedophile. What was the economy? What's the highest economy? Trafficking. And the thing is, it's not just for profit, okay? I want to talk about what's so important spiritually. Like, why these guys do this. It's not just some sort of compulsion that they're gay and they just like, young booty. There's a spiritual aspect of energy vampirism that is, again, a Luciferian concept of literally energy vampire, taking the youth of someone else and instilling it into your body. Again, it's a sex magic youth exchange. These people believe in this, and this is what the Jesuit faction of the Catholic Church, which is now basically the head of Vatican, it's so obvious anymore, that's what they're into. That's what they're into. St. Ignatius, he was the first Jesuit. He had this like crazy revelation in the Middle Ages that God was Lucifer. And that's why they don't think it's a bad thing behind closed doors to be sexually ritualizing for decades young children. And not only that, it creates a soul tie and a power to the individual child that experiences this, and they cannot think for themselves. They become a lot more docile in their life. They also start celebrating the corruption rather than wanting to prevent the corruption to happening to the next generation of youth. Hence why sometimes people that get sexually assaulted end up being the sexual assailant for the next generation. Not all the time, but there is that aspect of that, why that happens. They learn to, the victim of the energy vampire wants to become the energy vampire and regain their energy back. And that's how they learn to do it. Okay? And it creates a very corrupt society. Why, for decades, has this been going on? And you think of the millions and millions of people that now are living in that kind of warped reality that was stolen from them, without anyone standing up. It's no coincidence that we have so many people that are deluded in thinking that they are simply just a sexual being and nothing more, nothing less. And the only thing to do in this life is to celebrate that. They can't see any bigger issues to discuss or to fight for. And they're highly emotional and they're highly triggering. They're everywhere. That's what's going on. That's the truest brainwash. So guys, this is not just about some dude, some pervert dude that wants to get off. It goes so much deeper than that. It literally is changing society into literally putting a veil. You lose your innocence and you live in this veil of corruption. And it's going to go farther. The last few days, I've known this for a long time. I started researching it when, right after 9/11, everything happened around 9/11. Like everything was just like, boo, 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 boo. I was like 22. And, how old was I? 24? Something like that. And I was living in DC, you know, and all this stuff. And I was living in DC when 9/11 happened, and a lot of my clients in real estate worked at the Pentagon. I learned a lot personally about their own stories of what happened. I could see with my own two eyes what was going on. I could read right through the bullshit media that they were lying immediately of what they were talking about. It was so obvious to me. And then there was the first wave of Vatican finding out about all these Catholic priests that had been since the early 60s molesting boys. And that really, really got to me, you know. And so obviously that all this information has coincided for a long time for me to follow this stuff. It's not just a few lonely, perverted, you know, priests. It's truly a philosophy of Luciferianism. And at the highest level. And I'll tell you how you can do this. So first of all, this might be too much of a rabbit hole for some of you, but for those of you who are truly interested and have an open mind, I suggest that you start listening to, before he gets deleted off of YouTube, his name is Jonathan Kleck. And at first when I started listening to him, probably like 5 or 6 years ago, it was like, whoa, this is really weird. But I gotta tell you, over the years, he's made a lot of sense. And you may not like his approach sometimes. Sometimes he can be a little combative. Sometimes he can be a little bit defensive. But you know what? This guy's really putting himself out there. And I can guarantee you that he's gotten hit super duper hard with a lot of haters and a lot of people that deny his you know, what he's thinking is the truth. So just give him that grace and that goodwill and listen to him. Check it out. Okay? I hope the sound is working okay. I didn't want to hold my phone the whole time because it gets really kind of exhausting, and I've got these notes I want to go through. But at the same time, I'm starting a little bit concerned that the sound might not be so good. So I'll just hold it for a little bit. So let's go to what I've been putting together the last few days as far as artificial intelligence goes. There's a huge push for, obviously, in general, biotech. You know, they've been pushing since the 1950s the concept of the superheroes for young kids. And you want to be the Superman, you want to be the Mr. Know-It-All. And then you've got the television shows that push, hey, just take this pill and you'll end up being super intelligent. You don't even have to study, just take a huge pill, you'll be fine. Coincide that with the healthcare system, which has been trying to get people to implant health biochips into their arms, or maybe get like a tattoo that they can scan that keeps all your records in there. coincide with Google, who, you know, are trying desperately to get closer and closer and closer to your brain. They keep trying to sell the young people the idea that you're just a computer. At the end of the day, you're just a computer. So it's really no big deal if we align you with transhumanism. We align you with a computer. These are the same people that see everyone as a sex object, sex slave. Think of Stepford Wives. Okay? Are we really going to listen to these folks and think that they really have our best interest at heart? Please don't. That's suicide. And those songs, those rock and roll songs that are saying you're going to die young, if you listen to them, you will. So don't. Okay, moving on. I want you to be beautiful, amazing, wonderful human beings in this world. Okay. So AI. If they're pushing the idea of, you know, instead of just having your phone, you can literally just go, oh, hey, hi, Mom. I'll be home in just a little bit. We have telepathy. And, oh, what was that recipe? Oh, now I know it. Oh, I know French. I can upload a program that lets me know French. They're always telling you, well, it's you're in control and only you upload and you only connect with what you want to connect. Even though these chips, look up the Brain Initiative. Okay, it's out of Switzerland. And Obama gave a ton of money the last couple years before he left his presidency to this endeavor. Okay? This is not about helping military guys with PTSD. Okay? They haven't helped the military veterans in 50 years. They're not going to do it now. All right? So, this is about brain control. This is about turning everyone's brains into a computer. Now, to me, that sounded bad enough, because that means that I already knew that means, well, not only can you upload, but they can download anytime they want. And on top of it, knowing that they've got these algorithms through Google, that they can edit history and change your perception at any time. They're going to give you a narrative that they want you to understand. They're already doing it in the media. They're always selling narratives, not the truth. Don't you think they're going to do that with you in the future? They're not even telling the truth now. And they're hiding the truth with algorithms. Okay. So, compound that with the concept of the dark web. I've known about the dark web for a while. I really, I don't really want, I've never gone there. I don't ever want to go there. I already know from some of my friends who have been involved in some pretty yucky stuff. I don't need to go there to know that what happens is real. But the fact of the matter is, there is such a thing as the dark web. And in the dark web, it's pretty much living a nightmare. I mean, you're exposed to all the worst of the worst of the worst kinds of concepts, ideas, philosophies, things there. And I thought to myself, this is another interesting thing. Do you know that I found out the other day that we only see 4% of the entire internet on the regular www, on the regular internet. We only see 4%. Everything else is hidden. The dark web is 96%. 96% we don't see. And we're supposed to think we know what reality is? What's really going on? And if we allow AI to take over our minds, what's that 96% of the web going to upload into our brains? I'm not even going to say that, because I'm sure you guys can imagine. Now, is that going to create a world of beauty and abundance, or is that going to create a zombie apocalypse where everyone's trying to kill each other? Because they're literally living a nightmare. And the bestial system of living like a complete psychopath, and your reality as a psychopath, is constantly being uploaded into your brain. And that's the only reality that you know. Think about that. And I'm not far far off, you guys. I'm not far off from that being totally a wild theory. I mean, I think we've come far enough to realize that we're right on that precipice. And we do know that the dark web is a huge amount of the internet. And we also know that a lot of these people that run the world are psychopaths. And they don't like innocence. And they don't like joy. And they don't like beauty. And you've got people that are the head of Vatican that are attacking children. You've got heads of state that are being arrested right now. You've got lawyers, you've got doctors, you've got senators, you've got congressmen, you've got heads of foundations that were supposed to be for the children being arrested for this stuff. We have to wake up. Because if we don't wake up, you know, we're just going to constantly be in denial. And that doesn't help the kids. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help ourselves for sure. And trust me, I want to go off to like Iceland and just make really wild, fun art installations. That's all I want to do. Seriously, like, I don't want to think about this stuff. If you guys think I get off on this stuff, I'm sorry, you don't know me. I hate this stuff. I really, really hate this stuff. I hate this stuff with such a passion. It makes it and I'm an empath. So it's like, this kills me when I have to hear about these bad things. I want to go to Iceland. What's up, Matt? I want to go to Iceland. I want to create art installations. I want to have my friends over every night for wine and chilling out and having a campfire and having a great time. I don't want to be thinking about the world politics all the time and thinking about child sacrifice and all these terrible things that go on in the world. But if we don't confront this, it's not going to go away. And we are right there. We're right there. It is almost over. Everyone's talking about it. More and more and more people. And mainstream media, they're dead. And all these amazing, courageous, independent people that just keep going with it. And they put their lives on the line. And they put their careers on the line. They put their finances on the line. Just to get the truth out so we truly can have a better world. If we don't listen now, we're cowards. And we will deserve every gnarly thing that happens in the future if we don't step up now and go, I hear you, I'm behind you, let's change this crap, let's get rid of these guys that have been destroying the world and laughing at us, laughing at our misery, laughing at our poverty, laughing at our confusion, laughing at our despair. You know how many men commit suicide every single year because they feel so lost? And it's mostly white men. Get over it. Yeah, this is a war for people's minds and humanity. And if we don't wake up and go, we're not getting played anymore by you guys, and we see it, and you guys are done. So now we all can go and make art installations in Iceland, and we all can enjoy a wonderful meal together, and have a blast, and have dance parties. You know, and put a bunch of really awesome babies in the world and know that they're going to have a great world. You know? I mean, I want to have kids, but I got to tell you, with the stuff I know, I'm terrified. You know? But if we can change it now, which I believe we can, if you know the source, then hey, awesome. And that's doing right by the people that are really putting themselves out there to share what's really going on right now. So that's why I talk about this stuff, because we are there. And all this stuff is crumbling, whether they want to show it on mainstream media or not, it's crumbling. Podesta just the other day had to testify. And of course he's going to lie. He's a freaking liar. If you guys don't know that John Podesta and Tony Podesta and Hillary Clinton and all those guys are liars, I'm sorry. That you're so used to being lied to that, you know, go to truth school or something like that. I mean, you need to like really find out what it means when someone lies to you or not. You got it. I mean, come on. They're liars, liars. It's terrifying how we're used to being lied to that we can't even see it anymore. And that's what I learned in jury duty this past week. I mean, on a microcosm level, like I was looking around the jury box and I was like, do you guys hear what I'm hearing? This guy's lying. But they couldn't see it. They needed to see, this is exactly the evidence. Well, we used to know when someone was lying or not, and that used to matter. And I think it needs to matter again. All right, this has been a really long video, but I did want to cover a lot of stuff. You know, so let's go to, there's a lot of different connections with this stuff, okay? So you get more and more people growing up to think that pain is love, and just a momentary lustful connection with someone is more important than having a committed, loving friendship and a really beautiful shared life with somebody, you know. And I think that really this has to do a lot with the decades of letting so many priests and different people literally attack an entire generation of young people and steal their innocence. I really think that that's a major factor. Apparently there's been like 8 million, between 8 and 12 million kids just in the 80s alone that were abused. That's an unbelievable number. That's just I mean, it's unbelievable. So here we are. I mean, you know, we've got one of the most well-known, obvious people that are high up, Podesta, getting scrutinized. Let's just keep our eyes on him. Okay, let's just not let him get away with this stuff. I mean, he's laughing. I mean, in one of his, they throw him soft curve balls when they interview him, and he said within 24 hours of the whole Comet Pizza thing, it was debunked because MSN said it. But the thing is that he runs it. So we got to stop them from playing these games. And one of the reasons why the mainstream media is really attacking these individual folks like Sessions and Scalise and Trump especially, you know, it's because they're allowing for the first time in decades for the DOJ to actually do their job and arrest these people. They were never allowed to do that before. It was too compromised, you know. They were part of it. So even the individuals within their industry weren't able to do their job when they saw something wrong. Someone above them would tell them to shut it down. I'm just doing my job. That's not living with purpose. So I'm going to connect this huge conversation, these huge, you know, topics. I'm going to connect them. In the very beginning of this talk, I said, what does it mean for your purpose in life? Do you go out into the world and you look for someone else to give you a paycheck no matter what? Or do you go out in the world and you find a purpose and you create abundance by it? And therefore, at every given moment, you have the choice to choose what's right or wrong, and you don't have a paycheck telling you to compromise. Maybe that's why we're in this mess. We told too many people, focus on the paycheck and not the purpose. And when you have that kind of energy, you're going to have a lot of people that won't stand up for what's right because they don't want to lose their paycheck. You've got good cops out there that get shut up because of corruption. You've got good lawyers out there that get shut up and shut down because of corruption. You've got good congressmen and good senators. And even from time to time, a good president that ends up getting assassinated, right? Because they're trying to do the right thing. They're not perfect people, but they go one step too far and trying to expose the corruption. And I know, at this point, it's very obvious to me that there are some really good things that Trump is trying to do, because he would never be attacked like this if he wasn't. And I've never seen ever in my life so many truly bad people involved in horrible things finally coming to justice, or at least the opportunity of getting arrested, and the DOJ is able to finally do their job. Keep your eyes on that, you guys, not the gossip. And not all the derivative conversations of, oh, he said something to offend, whatever. Micah Bravensky, don't have any sympathy for her. Okay, look up her dad, look up her brothers. She's connected to the CFR and the Trilateral Commission, okay? She's no baby. She can handle it, and she's not on your side. So don't even worry about that. Moving on. Let's talk about the real stuff. Because you know what? The kids need your help. We all need our help to live in a better, more beautiful world. You know, where I want everyone to have what is in their imagination. You know, you want to have a beautiful home? You can learn to build it, or you can have friends that have it in their hearts to help you build it because they love you. And they've got the time to actually do things that are loving and caring for each other. They're not stuck 95% of their lives doing a job that sucks their soul and doesn't cause any good in the world. They have time to help their friends. They've got time to grow their own food and help their friends grow food. They've got time. They've got time to spend with their loved ones and have wine and be there for their kids and teach their kids how to read. They have time. They can spend all the time on what brings them joy. Not feeding fear-based mentality of thinking what will happen if they don't do something bad in the world to exist. If that could really be my mantra of what my purpose is in life, it's right there. It's that sentence. And for those of you who know me, which I'm starting to come out publicly about all this stuff. And it's been a journey. I don't feel quite comfortable in it, but I'm doing it anyway. That's it. And I've said enough to the people who've known me. Some of them get it, some of them don't. Some of them, whatever. But it's time to go further than just our friends and our circles and reach the people that we wouldn't normally see. Like, I don't normally hang out with lawyers. I don't normally hang out with people that are trapped in a lot of these paradigms. So, you know, if they're going to sit there and spend most of their time listening to CNN crap that destroys their mentalities, well, I might as well get something on YouTube that hopefully will eventually break it down. And there's a lot of people now that are doing it, which is great. I'm not the only one, for sure. There's been a lot of amazing people who have been doing it for years. I'm just joining the club. So check out Jonathan Kleck if you want to understand the deepest, darkest connections of why pedophilia and all these other things keep coming out of the Catholic Church. It's Luciferian. It's not Christian. And you may be a Christian who is Catholic, but the highest Catholic is not a Christian. Your Pope is not Christian. I'm sorry. They did a prayer in 2014. Look it up. And they did it in Latin. And a lot of people don't know Latin anymore. But they did a whole full prayer to Lucifer. And they said Lucifer is God. And they said Jesus was Lucifer's son. It's there. I mean, you can look it up. This is not conspiracy theory. Look it up. I'll actually connect the video in the comments of this video, which is extremely long. But it's just a lot of information, you guys. You know? And if I cut it up into segments, I mean, whatever. What's that going to do? This is really bright here. Let me see if I get over here. Can you see me? It's really bright. The sun keeps changing. So, you know, and the thing is that Pope Francis is the first Jesuit priest. There's a reason. Look up the Jesuits, you guys. They're not just Duquesne University. One thing that really disturbs me is that with all the different decades that they've been instilling this ritualistic pedophilia on kids, they also they mark the ones that will be put into certain future key positions of influence in the world. A lot of people that get placed into high media attention or high places, they were highly abused. as kids, and sometimes they don't always tell you exactly what it is. It seems kind of vague. Sometimes they'll talk about it in interviews. Like look up Robin Williams. His parents did a doozy on him. But they do this to create, like Luciferians ritualistically abuse their children, whether it's, oh, that's good lighting. Okay, here we go. High Masonic Luciferian families. My family was one of them. They knowingly, psychologically, emotionally, sexually, physically abuse their children to get out their genius. They believe that if they do this ritualistically to kids, that it opens up their kundalini to their inner genius. And then through the trauma, kids become extremely smart. Their senses become extremely heightened because they're in a constant high trauma environment. So they end up getting photographic memories, or sometimes they'll all of a sudden be like a genius at music. Jim Morrison was one of those experiments. His father was very abusive to him, and his father was also highly involved in Masonic military. And he got that genius, but it also was his self-destruction as well, because they opened up the snake god to him. They opened up the Kundalini Pan snake god to Jim Morrison. And that's why he was so seductive and so amazing and so poetic. It just flew out of him. But that's also why he was always focused on the snake and self-destruction. A lot of this abuse is also very turn off, turn on. So these kids can get triggered into these spaces in their minds, which can, through their lives, be used against them for their own will. And this is important. We have to really understand this stuff. This is not just some weird anomaly of creepy old dudes that just want to do it with small children. Okay, this is pervasive in a lot of our culture and in a lot of other different cultures, not just for a sexual gratification. It goes so much deeper than that, and we have to understand it, because if we don't take the time to really understand it, we're never going to get past it. It'll keep surfacing up because we won't know the root of it. And I truly, truly, truly want this to stop. I mean, I don't want to post this stuff on Facebook anymore. I really don't. But until it truly goes away, until people really start talking about this and changing it, I can't stop. Because what's happening now is that there's so many kids that are abused and are triggered, and they want to celebrate their own abuse, and they want to promote these same acts as now a cultural norm and to call it freedom, because that's all they've known since they were a small child. That doesn't mean it's good. It's rampant in the arts, because the arts bring out your genius. It brings you in tune with that inspiration muse. A lot of these kids are highly abused, and they come up and they just naturally know how to do things or put things together in a really wild way that the average person doesn't, because of the trauma. Opening up the Kundalini spirit, opening up the pineal gland through pain. And when you're an adult and you haven't gone through the abuse, they try to sell you the idea of opening up your pineal gland through positive things. It's not so positive when you're a kid and your parents are involved in this stuff. Okay. So when they become adults, they end up becoming different influential people in society, to check the laws to make sure that other people in the brotherhood or in this group will never truly go to jail or have any kind of bad thing happen to them. And they also like to push legislation that will continue their fight towards this Luciferian reality. So right now in California, which is rampant with this kind of philosophy, you've got Senator Pan, who is a pediatrician and who is also a senator. Interesting. And he is really pushing vaccinations, as well as he's also for lowering the age of consent He also believes that that the state can take away children from their parents if the parents don't go along with what the state thinks is best for their children. And it's a very open definition of what that means. Now, if you know anything about child foster care and the trafficking that goes on there, that's a huge red flag. I mean, for decades, the foster care system has been a wonderful cover-up for child trafficking. What do we want to talk about? We got to wake up. We got to look at this stuff, you guys. It's not going to go away for long. So that's my weird week. That's my weird week. There's a lot of stuff that we talked about, but you know, there's a lot of different connections with these things. And again, you know, I know it's not pretty. Everyone, you know, wants to go, I just want to stay in my own little world, and I want to think of the good things in the world. I want to think of, gosh, it's so bright. I want to think of the good things. I want to focus on, you know, happy stuff. And that's great. I get it. Trust me. I do too. I do too. But the thing is that it's like the nothing. You know, it's one of my favorite movies of all time is The Never-Ending Story. I'll end with this because this is really happy, and this is something. This movie, the first time I watched this movie, I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. Okay, and I had a really I escaped a lot through television. There was a lot of volatile things that were going on in my world when I was a kid, and I learned to tune out and tune in to the television hardcore. And so my imagination was like really like, you know. So I watched this movie called The Never-Ending Story, and it was all about this little boy who was going through a really rough period of time in his own life, which of course I could completely connect with. Gosh, why I look like I'm on fire. What is this light? Can I please just get a regular light? Here we go. Hello. I swear I don't glow. Anyway, well, what are you gonna do? Okay, there we go. Light. Here we go. Okay. So anywho, he finds this book, and the book is alive. And as he reads the book, reality is actually happening. He's creating the reality with his thoughts in the book. We do that every day. Now I know for myself, with thoughts, I'm either creating or I'm destroying my reality. And I do both. We all do. So ultimately, it's really great to be focusing on all these amazing things and all these really good things. But here's the thing. We can't take it to the point where we literally are ignoring the nothing. What is the nothing? In the story, the nothing was this just evil, all-encompassing black hole of darkness that took away everything and everybody in its wake. And it left literally nothing. It sucked away people's energy. It sucked away people's imaginations. It sucked away their creativity and their joy and their life and their friends and everything. It just sucked everything away into nothing. Now, in the story, if everyone was in such a panic that they just put their heads in the sand and went, I'm just going to pretend like everything's okay until the nothing just takes me over, would that have saved the universe? No, it would not have. What saved the universe was that little boy went through the swamps of sadness. He went through the Sphinx's eyes. He went to the ends of the earth. He went through all these different things to find out the truth so that it could get fixed and then he fixed it. And right now, our nothing is this vampiric, Luciferian energy that right now is very much alive in our world. And it's killing anything that has joy, creativity, true creativity, innocence, abundance, water, air, land, freedom of thought, connection with other people, sharing, freedom of choice of how to exist in this world based on your own imagination, not living by somebody else's nightmare. You see? That's our nothing right now. And yeah, we can meditate, but we have to face the nothing, and we have to defeat it. Because if we don't, we're cowards, and we will all lose. And that's the truth. So yeah, I mean, it sucks that I have to post a lot of these different things that's going on. But it's right at the precipice of changing because everyone's talking about it. So we're almost there. So I hope that you share this, actually, if you don't mind. That'd be really great. And hopefully there's something in this extremely long speech that I have shared that someone can get out of it on some level. And we truly can be the change we want to see in the world by being courageous. Not by just going into our own minds and pretending it's all going to go away. But literally standing up to some of these nefarious things and saying no. We've all talked about it. We all have the opportunity to talk about it because everyone's on the internet. It's not like you got to call up all million friends of yours and talk about them individually. We have this amazing ability called this right here. That everyone can talk from right here. This is amazing. Things can change instantly just from these little machines. And we can change it all right now. This is the time. This is the time. So share this and talk about it with your friends. Talk about it. Don't be afraid. Talk about it. Fear is junk. Don't fear. Don't fear. They want you to fear, to keep quiet. That's how they survive. Stand in truth. And you'll be amazed at where things go. You know? And so for this weekend, I hope amazing, wonderful, purposeful choices that bring you in alignment with joy and connection with other people. And I hope that you're able to share wine and food with the people that you love. I know I will be tonight because it's not gonna rain. My good friend Rachel and all of us, they're on their way to Michigan for the summer, and it's hard, especially when you're a traveling artist and really working it all the time. You know, it's hard to have those downtimes. So this is a rare occasion, and she almost had to cancel because it looks like it was gonna rain. But clearly, from my reflection, my face, it's not gonna rain because it's bright as all get out here. So that's what we're going to do, you know? We're going to have a really great time tonight, and that's what I hope all of you do. And in the meantime, also, stand up for what's really right. Keep those people that are doing really bad stuff, those are the ones that need to be accountable for what's going on. And put them in jail. Put them in a freaking FEMA camp. They created the FEMA camps for us, but there's enough of them. Put them in the FEMA camps. See ya. Thanks for building it. That's where you can go now. And you know, you'll see a whole generation differently of kids that can grow up in this world without exploitation, without having to go into monetary systems of jobs that create destruction or profit from this kind of stuff. And they can really truly live their lives in beautiful peace and abundance and living by their own conscience. That's really what I want to see. And I hope that's what you want to see for your kids too. I don't have kids, but I care about the kids. If I had money to afford to adopt a ton of kids, I would. Right now I'm not at that place. So if this can be something that I do, and this is something we all decide to do and share, whether we're single or whether we do have kids, this is a big deal. And there are people placed right now in very high places of power that are waiting for us to support them and say, yes, we're behind you. This is the time. This is the time. This is not a time to sit there and fight for you to be called a sexual object, a pronoun. I don't care. I don't care. And neither should you. We need to be really caring about our future. And holding on to that. I'm officially done. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. And it's all happening. Have a great week. Bye guys, I'll see you soon. Peace.